Born in the desert, the original Africa twin, a purpose-built, a dream debut. When the two NXR 750s took home the first and second place in the 1986 Paris-Dakar rally, that kicked off a 4-year run of domination in the legendary rally series. After 4 years of dominance in the late 80s, the Africa twin platform gave way. But the HRC team certainly learned plenty in their time competing, building one of the most iconic Honda models to date. And yes, in 2015, the CRF 1000L was later reborn as one of the best adventure touring bikes in that platform. And of course, reigned the kingdom till 2019.
Let's hear more about this ownership experience and how the DCT functions, and a lot more about why Leon has chosen this as his trusted steed. Let's move over to Leon. Tell us, why did you choose the Africa twin over, I think you were looking at the Tiger, you were looking at the Multis. Why the Africa twin?
So I picked the Africa twin only because you sometimes go by feel of the bike, and to be honest, I had penned down a booking amount and stuff for the Tiger. The Multis were out because they were too big and I could not take them off-road. For my technical ability, there was no way I could, what was that bike called? Enduro, I think it was.
The
right?
Multi.
Yeah. It's an amazing bike, but it's definitely not for my skill level. So then the Tiger was something that I was always looking at. I took it for extensive test rides and I decided that was the bike that I wanted. And I was dead against this one because it has the DCT. And for me personally, you know, I just did not see the point of having a bike like this. I told my wife and a very close friend that it's a souped up Activa. Why would I spend that much money on a souped up Activa? And my friend and wife, they forced me and took me to the Honda showroom and told me to test ride it, only because they said that, you know, when you're putting down so much money, just make sure you're buying the right one. See, the Tiger has always been a bike that I absolutely love. Even to this day, the 900s, the 800s are just brilliant bikes. I went on a Saturday. So on Saturday, all Ayush, who heads Big Wing Bangalore, he gave me the keys and he told me just take it for a spin. I understand that you've bought the Tiger, it's fine, just take it for a test ride. In under a kilometer, I was at Ashoka Pillar when I stopped. So the distance from Silicon Honda to Ashoka Pillar is maybe a kilometer or far less. I stopped immediately and I called up Triumph and said I needed to cancel the booking.
Wow.
Because it just clicked. As soon as I rode it, that's when I understood how brilliant the DCT is. And I use the paddle shifters every now and then. And then, logically, I just thought that leg arm movement versus just a paddle shift, like all the sports cars and stuff work on paddle shift, right? So it just made sense for me. And I have honestly not regretted that decision at all.
So from a Tiger 800, I'm not sure which variant, but definitely I'm sure it would have been the XE or the XEA, one of those guys, to this wonderful machine. Now, that is right the opposites. How was the journey? And we understood the 1 kilometer kind of made you buy this, but tell us more about after that.
So of course, the first couple of days of getting the bike, it was a little difficult, to be honest, because you know you're always searching for the clutch and it's not there, and it's all about. It took me all of I think 2 days to get used to it.
Right.
And I've never really looked back. I mean, I still ride, you know, every once in a while my friends' Tigers and stuff like that. As much as I love those bikes, if I were to do it all over again, and even if you have newer players in the market, say 10RA launches and stuff like that, this would always be my first preference. Not because, you know, I know a lot of people say that, you know, I bought this bike, so yeah, this is my bike or whatever. It's just that it's been through a lot, and in terms of build quality, I can attest that the build quality of this bike, I think this will be one of the very few 80s, maybe in India, maybe in the world, that has really been tested through sheer stupidity. I mean,
I'm very sure I think all of us did hear that amazing stunt of how, I'm sure you guys would also love to hear this. I mean, this bike as is. This gentleman here managed to park it exactly this way inside a trench in HSR. I mean, for all the people there, I think we can steal a photo of that and put it up in the video here. And do share your comments down there.
So it was in the first 10 days of ownership, right? So this is my first so-called big bike, because I was always riding Pulsars, Bullets, and the Mahindra Mojo before this.
The Mojo.
Yeah, the Mojo. So of course I crashed it, and it was pretty bad, like the images will definitely show you. So the Honda guys came, picked up the bike, they stripped it down, they checked the swing arm, the frame and all of that. And I had to only pay the cost of putting the bike back together, because there was nothing wrong with the bike whatsoever. So that's the other thing about the guys at Honda. I've had a busted radiator fan, a few small issues, and that's not really with the bike. It's something stupid that I tried, and it failed miserably.
Unless if anybody wants to know what that happened, again, in comments, put it out. Leon's right there to respond to those stories as well.
Yeah, but for sure. So yeah, in terms of parts availability, I've personally had no issues. Granted, there are certain things that will take time, like you know, the battery and stuff like that. It has to be shipped; it cannot be flown in. I have so far not had to replace the battery, although I keep checking it at regular intervals, because it's one of my greatest fears, you know, not having the bike with me. But otherwise, it's been a blast, as in the bike, the experience with Honda. So they have these big service, this thing where they check the valve shims, the throttle body cleaning. So my costliest service has been about 22-23K, and that happens once in 48,000 kilometers. So the only thing that I wish that this bike has, and that's because of all the rides that I have to constantly do to Kerala, is because of their speed cameras. I would love to have a cruise control so that I can just set the speed and not really look at it. But apart from that, there's nothing about this bike that I would change, to be honest. The new bike's awesome, but I just like, you know, the negative display and, you know, how minimalistic it is. Lesser electronics, lesser things can go wrong, is what I think.
Over the years, from 2018 to now of ownership of this bike, I'm sure a lot of you guys have seen, there's a lot of accessories added, there's a lot of functional and performance mods and ergonomic changes that has been done. So it's time for me to get out of this frame, because that's a lot, and let's talk to the guy who knows what he's done and why he's done it. Leon, over to you. Bye.
So I have the spurs from Hepco, the off-road tube, so that, you know, the crash bar is held in position when it falls, because it's not if, it definitely will fall. And then there's the pannier rack. I have the Remus exhaust, the PDM 60, which, you know, runs all of my additional electronics through, so in case something blows, it'll handle it. I got a bunch of charging ports, you know, the USB port for the mobile and stuff, and a RAM for both my phones. And then I have the Camel ADV brace. There's a bunch of stuff. And in terms of lighting, I have the Squadron Sports from Baja, and I recently installed the Delta. Although I should have waited for some time, because something cool is coming to India that I wish I had genuinely waited for. There's a bunch of stuff, and of course the Bikenbiker top box, the Enduristan handlebar bag, the TPMS meter. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that, you know, I've added. The stuff that I want to get now is a steering dampener. That is something that I really need, because when I have gone slightly more technical trails and stuff, I wish I had a steering dampener to kind of help me out. But yeah, that's about the bike in a nutshell. And if you have any questions, just leave a comment, and you know, I'll be more than glad to help with that.
Guys, that was all about the CRF 1000, and yes, exciting, but really a benchmark of a motorcycle. Now, that being said, Honda has to, of course, surprise us and keep us hooked on to this poisonous, insanely powerful beast, which munches miles and does off-road like a breeze. And that's when you bring the CRF 1100. Yep, more powerful, a new avatar, but still the heart of that Dakar wheeling super motorcycle. And here's a little bit about that.
Looking at the Africa Twin as one of those bikes that I'd really look up to, and one of the best bikes I've ridden till date. Primarily, I would say it's because, one, of course, the ergonomic comfort on this bike or even the older bike was absolutely spot on in terms of how my hands were rested to how my knees. Yes, on this bike, I did feel my knees were a little crunched, but for me, it was perfect. Maybe a taller guy may have an issue of that sort, but apart from that, this guy is perfect, and Honda really has marked it and perfected in terms of rider ergonomics. When it comes to engine performance, yes, low end torque, brilliant. If you feel the drive mode is a little calmer and you need to have a little more boost, of course, when you long press that drive mode, it goes into sport mode. So S1, S2, S3 are the two higher revving modes the three higher revving modes you have. And for me, to be honest, I was very comfortable with S2. I found the motorcycle to be perfect in terms of the torque value, in terms of how it jumps, in terms of how it rides, how it gives me the quick throttle that I can cut corners, even in the city or be it the highway. The S2 was perfect for me. And I'm sure all of you guys already know, I mean, a lot of us go for the Hondas because that's a bulletproof engine. You do anything you want with it, I mean, obviously not. Within the safe parameters, if you do anything on this motorcycle, it will take the beating. This is meant to go the mile and be happy at the end of the mile as well. When you look at add-ons, a few things that I felt I needed was, yes, even though the addition of the cornering lights on the new bike, the headlamps were not that adequate. I don't blame Honda for it. Of course, India, we have rules and regulations that allow lights to be only of a certain brightness when it is installed on motorcycles. And I'm sure a lot of you guys who own the Tiger 900s or the older Africa Twins, the 1250s, the 1200s, even smaller bikes like the KTM 390 Adventure, the Dominar, the CB350s, all of these bikes, our headlamps are actually not enough. And yes, so that's why I put on a set of Bahas on the bike. I think a lot of guys are also running on the Bahas. So apart from the lights, of course, the other additions that I've done is, or I think a lot of guys do, is you definitely need a crash bus on this motorcycle. You have brands like GV, Altrider, we have Hepco, SW Motec, a lot of brands that help us with that. Handguards, of course, to make sure that the mounting is perfect. Even when you drop the bike, you're safe to pick it up and ride again. On the new bike, the stock bash plate is an excellent addition. I'm sure a lot of older bikes out there, you've seen this and you've thought the same as well. The newer bikes actually have a great addition to there, so you don't need to actually change the bash plate. But let me cut all that glory I've been giving this and give you a small brief towards the end. I'm sure this has already gone a lot longer. In terms of the overall experience with the Africa Twin, yes, gear shifting absolutely butter smooth, be it the manual or the DCT. On off-road, yes, having the switchgear paddles on the switch control gives me easier access to actually just go play with the paddles. And the DCT makes my mind a little lesser cluttered when I'm doing the off-road trail, because I don't have to think about the gears. The bike's smart enough to do that for me, so I can focus on other things that I'm trying to, if the track or the trail is a little technical. Apart from that, yes, the suspension, the gearbox, the whole TFT with all the features that is including the Bluetooth connectivity, all of that is a benchmark. In terms of cons, as I was saying earlier, what I only feel is maybe for a taller guy, that foot peg is a little smaller or a little higher. That's pretty much it. And yes, in the middle, some of these motorcycles had a very tall windscreen, which I think Honda themselves had fixed it in the latest launch. They have got a shorter windscreen in. So that gives us a little more comfort when you're riding the bike as well. So overall, yes, an excellent experience with the Africa Twin. I love this, and I'm personally a fan of the DCT. I don't know, I think how many ever my friends try to convince me the manual is more fun, I still love the DCT. I still find it the best. And of course, it is Honda's flagship. Why not make it my flagship? I really love the flagship. It's excellent. And yeah, I'm looking soon to see if there is an update to the DCT, because we've been seeing this baby for a long while. I'm sure Honda's got something in the make which is going to scare us even further and, you know, make life even more exciting for us. That's it for me today. I'm Srijit. See you in the next one.